Well, I just had to do it. I had to actually probe and find out if there are any people out there who actually subscribe to Pat Robertson's view on the deal with the devil that the revolutionaries in 18th century Haiti actually made. It's not necessarily enough to actually just sort of vilify Mr. Robertson. I just wanted to see if there were other people out there that actually believed all of this. And now I was somewhat taken aback by the number of people that are quite willing to defend what he said, saying that it's probably true, that he's a man of God, a man of faith, things along those lines. Now, there were enough Christians out there, to be fair, who sort of said, "Oh dear God, please don't think that we're all like that. There's no way on earth that we would ever say something so terrible about anybody, the Haitians or anyone." It's that sort of thing. A lot of people actually made a point, I noticed all over the net, of strongly distancing themselves from Mr. Robertson. Some of them were more or less lukewarm, but you could tell that they were at pains to try not to say that he was an idiot. But that did look like it was very much below the surface when you listen to a certain type of Christian. And my heart goes out to them. Just because you say that you're a Christian doesn't mean that all Christians or all people who profess to be Christians can speak for you. That just doesn't work like that. Now, as far as those people who actually did defend what he had said, which it kind of surprised me that anyone actually would have defended it. I would have thought that they would have went kind of just embarrassed at the marks of an old man who might be losing his grip, and we have to allow for that. That is entirely possible. But some of the people that actually defended him said things and went a little bit farther than he was willing to go that I spoke to. Now, again, I don't want to tar all Christians with this brush, but like I say, it did kind of take me aback when I heard what I heard and read what I read on the internet. There are a lot of people out there that said, yes, indeed, that meeting with the devil did take place. Well, okay, I've got a degree in history, and I always ask people, okay, what are your sources? Well, I haven't seen any sources yet. I'd like to see them. I really, truly would. When I study a thing like the Treaty of Versailles or the Paris Peace Conference that ended Vietnam or anything like that, I want to know who was present, who took the minutes, who said what, check and cross-check, that kind of thing. There were plenty of treaties in the late 18th century. In fact, there were probably more going on all the time in the Europe of its age. That's the Napoleonic age, remember. Not Napoleon III, by the way, Napoleon the First, the Napoleon. He was always signing treaties with this, that, or the other, changing the map to suit whatever his whim was. So we would have had a fairly good record of any kind of deal involving someone as august or perhaps as bad as Satan. There must have been witnesses there to see who was present, how many people were there, on what authority they could speak to speak on behalf of all Haitians, living or dead, for the next 200 years, up until today's earthquake, well, the earthquake of this age. There had to have been people there who they must have written something down. They must have there must have been a few witnesses who wrote down their memories of what took place. Now, I'm not holding my breath that we're going to find anything like this. It looks to me as though the whole thing is an issue of faith. Okay, I've got nothing against honest faith, but the problem here is this is faith that condemns an entire nation of people, that curses them, that says that God wishes them ill. I'm sorry, but that's the only possible way that you can interpret that word, that Haiti is cursed. Cursed by whom? They made the deal with the devil, so one would assume that God is angry, so it was his wrath that did this. Which opens up the entire can of worms of collective guilt. Now, one person actually admitted this. I said, okay, well then, if all the Haitians are responsible for what this one small group of people who did their dirty little deal with Satan signed or did or said or whatever, what does that say about African Americans and their role in slavery? Is it all their fault that they were enslaved and subjected to 200 years of unmitigated hell? And the oppression that is with them to this day? It's kind of all their fault, after all, by the same logic of the Haitians, because, well, the black Americans came from came from Africa. They practiced a voodoo-like religion. To this day they do. The animist religions of West Africa are, not that different from voodoo. Well, that I could tell that made a couple of people kind of nervous and edgy. The next question, of course, is, well, what about the Jews, assuming there is such a thing as the Jews? Should they have suffered the Holocaust? Somebody actually admitted it, but I think they said yes, they probably had it coming. Now, that's an extreme one, and I basically said I can't talk to you anymore. Okay, nothing personal, but I think that you're a racist. Or I think that you're saying racist things. Even if you may honestly believe them, I can't discuss this with you anymore because I don't want my continued discussion with you to lend you any legitimacy. Not that I'm capable of lending anyone any legitimacy. So there's a lot of that stuff out there, and people that are willing to sort of go out and say, yes, I do believe in collective guilt, I do believe in the deal with Satan, even though we have no record of anything of that nature, even though we have no way of saying how a bunch of rebels in a large country, well, Haiti's a small country, but I'm talking in terms of the entire population, that had the authority to speak for everybody, forever, basically, in a deal with Satan. The whole thing is insane, and that's another thing that a lot of people aren't really asking Pat Robertson about as well. Who made that deal, Mr. Robertson? So I suppose I can understand why a lot of people actually take a fairly hard line with theism, theists, Bible thumpers, people of that sort. But I can only say that I'm glad that I kept my cool throughout the entire thing, although there were a couple of times where I was kind of shocked by what people are willing to actually come out and say. So I think that now I understand what my friends in the United States are up against. They probably have to deal with these people a lot more often than I do. I won't even say that these people is some sort of identifiable group. But I think that if I dealt with people saying things like this all of my life, I think that my view of religion in general would have been deeply colored by these experiences. And I sort of can't really blame some Americans for taking a pretty dim view of religion in general. I take a fairly dim view of religion in general, but I find the hardest of the hardliners are in the United States, with a few in the UK. But it was an eye-opener, I must say. Thank you.